today. Either way, fingers crossed that you guys end up enjoying what we're about to drop on you today. So, all right. Let me get the formal YouTube intro out of the way. Hey, everyone. Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well. And today, actually, I'm going to say bassiest music nerd, because today we're about to embark on a bass conversation with bassist and songwriter, singer extraordinaire, Miss Blu DeTiger. And thank you for coming through. We appreciate your presence. And yeah, I'm happy that you agreed not only to this conversation, but to the parameters of the conversation, because, having someone on here to come talk about bass is a treat. It's a switch up. It's an opportunity to do something different.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. It's really cool to talk to a fellow bass player too. I feel like we can get really nerdy with it,
Thank you.
Like you'll get what I'm talking about.
Well, one of the first things I want to say is just express appreciation for you for kind of bringing the bass a little bit to the forefront in your own way, because as we were just kind of saying earlier, it is sort of more perceived as being like, a background instrument, something that you don't really think of. But I've noticed kind of a shift in a lot of popular music recently. And I think maybe you're a part of that, and maybe you've noticed it yourself. I feel like in a way, I don't want to throw any shade here, but I feel like in a way with the slight, not the death of, but the dampening down of the relevance of the guitar, because, we're not exactly in an era culturally where you'll get an audience to applaud you by doing fucking windmills on a Strat. You know what I mean? I feel like with that, it's left more room for the bass. It's given the bass a little more presence. It's given things like groove a little more presence. It's given us the ability to, sort of hear and appreciate this thing that's always been there and maybe we should have been paying more attention to all along. And sort of in that void, I feel like you've stepped in. You've brought more bass, and you've shown that as a bassist, you can wear multiple hats. You're not just a background player. You can sing, you can write, you can be the total package.
Totally. Thanks for saying that. Yeah, that's my biggest goal, I think, with my whole thing, because when I was growing up playing bass, I had a lot of, I think, internal conflicts, because I grew up when you're learning to be a good bass player, you're very, you're learning how to be in the background, how to be a good bass player. I don't know why I put air quotes, but you're learning how to sit with the drummer in the pocket and do all that stuff. And I think I understood that, but I also had a side of me that obviously wanted to be a front person and wanted to write, and I didn't want to just choose one or the other. So I was let me just figure out how to bring the bass with me to the front of the stage. And that's kind of this journey I'm on right now. And it kind of started when I was doing a bunch of these DJ sets, and I would bring my bass and play along. Oh. And everyone was like, this is sick. This is such a vibe. And then I was like, oh, it's actually it works. You can play in the upper register and you can play over, you can play melodically, and it works. Mm-hmm. That was kind of the beginning of that journey.
So when did you, first pick the instrument up? I mean, was bass your first introduction into musicianship, or was it kind of a journey to that point?
Yeah, kind of. So my older brother was, he's a few years older than me, and he was playing drums really young when he was 10. And I was oh, I want to play an instrument. I was 7 at the time. Mm. So obviously super young. This is how the story goes. This is how I remember
Tell us the story.
This is the story. So I was really young, and my brother was playing drums. And I was I want to play an instrument too. I want to be a part of this, of what he's doing. And I remember just thinking the guitar for some reason was too mainstream. I don't know why I thought that, but I was oh, it's too mainstream. There's so many. I think I was thinking of the Taylor Swift archetype, where you sing and you play guitar. Right. And I was I just don't want to do. I want to do something different. I want to do something more unique. So I chose the bass. And then I just kept going with it. And I was this is sick. This is my thing. And I liked being different, And then eventually I started playing guitar a few years later, and then started singing and started producing and doing all that stuff. But it was always through the lens of the bass. The bass was always my intro and my core.
So you said at age 7?
Yeah, I was this is it.
And when you did that, what was your first instrument, a full scale, or did you get a short scale, or?
So it was this is actually a tragic story, but I had this Gretsch. And I don't think it was, or maybe it was a little bit shorter scale. I don't remember, but I had a Gretsch, and I left it in a taxi cab in New York, the back of a taxi cab, and I got out.
Oh my God.
I left I've never seen it again. And this was, when they didn't, like, if it was in an Uber, I could have got it back. I never got it back. It's a really, really sad story. I don't even like to tell it that often because it like makes me sad that I'll never get it back. But I had a Gretsch, and then after that, I got a short scale, like Fender Mustang, and was getting into it on that because I was so small that like I couldn't. Like if I was like standing up straight and then had the bass like next to me, it was like kind of like over. It was like up to here.
Okay, so it wasn't that short.
No, not my first one, but then the Fender Mustang was like shorter. And then after I got used to the Fender Mustang and I grew up a little bit, I was like, it's time for a full scale.
So, you kind of got into or were attracted to the bass initially as kind of, in alternative to what is maybe the more obvious choice out there in terms of, rock instruments to pick up. Like at what point as a musician and a music fan did maybe you start listening to it a little bit more in the music that you were hearing and like picking it up and maybe picking up ideas or picking up inspiration from other players or maybe kind of picking out some of your favorite bass sounds and bass lines?
I think like when I started playing, I just immediately gravitated towards listening to the bass in any song because that was just like how I was learning music. So I think since I started playing, that's always how I've like heard it, I guess. But then I think I really started getting into like specific players when I was probably 12 or 13. I started getting into like, my favorite bass players and learning all of their lines. Like I got really into Bernard Edwards when I was probably like 12 or 13. He's still like my favorite bassist of all time, but I learned like all of the Chic bass lines. And he was a big inspo too for, composing bass lines. Like his bass lines are all like very melodic and are kind of like the whole song. Like Good Times to me is like the song is the bass line in my eyes and ears. So he was big inspo, and then I started learning how to play slap bass and stuff, and then I got really into like Larry Graham and Victor Wooten. So it kind of happened like more in my teenage years when I was like really getting into bass players. But I think my whole life I always listened to the groove first.
Yeah, no, the teen years are really like the prime years to get into slapping. I feel like, that's when you have, that's when really like emotionally, no matter, what kind of person you are, as a bassist, you're at your most aggressive and you're like, I really just want to hit it because I'm kind of playing rhythmically anyway.
Yeah, and that's like the years when you're like, this is it. When you're like, you get so behind your thing. You know what I mean? When like you're in your teens and you find like your band, you're like, this is the best band ever. When you're a teen, you're like so behind it. So I was so like, that was like slap bass is it. I was like, funk music is it. Like that's it. And then I got into like jazz and like other stuff. But yeah.
No, I mean, getting into that definitely gives you like a better melodic sense. But like, at the end of the day, it's like really the groove that ends up driving everything. But so from that point, I mean, I guess you kind of already went into this, but like, since you were talking about Chic and stuff like that, like from that point to, I guess, more of a jazz influence perspective, was like pretty much funk and disco like your main courses and everything?
Yeah, so funk and disco was like my main things. I learned all those lines, and then from there, I got more into jazz, and that's when I really learned about music theory and improvisation, which was so helpful. Like that was probably the biggest turning point for me in terms of musicianship. Just like getting that's when I got like way better. Just like I went from like here to there, faster, just like by learning about music theory and how jazz works and learning how to like follow chord progressions and all that stuff. So then, I got really into jazz for a second, and then I went into a phase where I was like, jazz sucks, or not jazz sucks, but I was just like, these jazz. It's like I have to like get back into pop music, and then I got more into just back into being able to use stuff that I learned from jazz, but not being so like I love like jazz is the only thing that is good music, because I feel like if some of these jazz, when you get really into jazz, some people they kind of like that's the ultimate goal. So I had to take what I could learn from that and then like bring it into other stuff. Right.
Well, we're a few minutes into this right now. I think we could like
should we like play?
We should probably pick these up maybe.
Yeah, sort of just are you like, okay, so you're really good at bass because I've seen your videos. But are you really good at other instruments as well? Or is it just like
I can play guitar, I can play some keys as well, but mostly just bass. That's
sick. So you like started on bass too.
We're just picking them up. We're just being casual about it. Since you lost your Gretsch, since that point, have you always been a Fender girl? Have you sort of like switched between?
Yeah, I'm like full Fender right now.
Right.
I'm super, yeah. I was like, I have a Rickenbacker too. I love my Rickenbacker, but I was like slapping on it when I got it because this is what in my slap phase. So I was like slapping really hard on it, and I like kind of like wore down the frets, and it was kind of an issue. And I had to like take it to a shop. Dude, it was actually pretty bad. And I took it to a shop, and they were like, "You can't do this." They're like, "Why are you slapping on a Rickenbacker?" Like they were like getting mad at me at the shop, and I was like, "Okay, I can do whatever I want." First of all,
right?
Like I can. Do
you know
whatever.
they make a lot of these, right?
Yeah, I was like, I can do whatever. But it really like messed it up, so I had to get it like refretted, but I still love my Rick. And then once I was like slapping on the Rick, I was like, okay, I should probably get a jazz bass. And then I got really into all the Fender stuff. But I was like, I had a P bass before that too. I have a lot of basses at home, but I'm not at home right now, so I can't show you guys my collection.
Got it. And refretting something isn't exactly like, rocket science either. Like, it's doable,
It was like fine. Yeah, I was kind of annoyed. I was like, oh my God, you guys are like yelling at me. Like, can you stop? I was like at the shop. I was like,
I don't know. I mean, as long as still playable, I feel like wear and tear it's a badge of honor. You're putting in the work. Yeah. You're playing it,
and it was a vintage Rick too. It was from like 1990 or something, or 1985 or something. And also all my basses are blue pretty much. So that's another.
Amazing.
Yeah, this is my newest one.
Consistency.
Yeah, which is like the mirror is so funny. I can literally like show you.
That's like I was saying this earlier. That is an amazing mirror pick guard.
Yes, yeah. The Fender Custom Shop, they're fire over there. Like it's like my like I chose this shade and we did like a blue burst and like a sparkle.
Like they really hooked you up over there.
Yeah, they hooked. I love my Fender people.
So like play me like one of your first, or one of your favorite licks to play, like from when you were a kid.
Favorite. I mean, the first song I ever learned was "Smoke on the Water," which is like a classic.
Classic.
Just a classic.
Yeah.
And then when I was a kid, I mean, like "Forget Me Nots" was like the first like real like slap bass song that I learned. That was like, and I like probably still can't even like play it correctly. I would practice it for hours and hours and hours. But like that one, I'd play that for like hours and hours and hours. And then I would play like "Hair" by Larry Graham. That was like a big one that I got into when I was like 15. Probably practiced that for like a year, low key, because it's so hard to get it like perfect. So I like got into that, and then you get into all the like, and I was like really into all the like chords and stuff. And I got really into "Glide" by Pleasure. That's like another one of my like favorite bass lines of all time. And that has like the chords. It has like that shit in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I'm like really into like 10th chords.
Yes, tenths.
Yeah, it's like the 10th. So like, and like now all of my, my songs that I write, mostly everyone has like some 10th chords, some 10th. But it was came from that song.
They're really good though.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
No, I mean it's like, isn't that the bass line and the harmony that plays with the bass or over the bass on like Lou Reed's Wild Side? Isn't that like all tenths too?
Yeah, that's tenths. Yeah, that's tenths. It's just such a nice sound.
It sounds especially nice on bass. I mean, obviously like tenths are a pretty essential part to most guitar chords, but like on bass specifically, they just sound like really warm and really full.
Yeah, it's just like the way that they're positioned sounds really nice, because if you play like this or something, like it doesn't like sound as pretty.
Right.
As that, or even that. So yeah, I like to incorporate tenths and everything. But like each little like technique I think that I picked up all came from, like a song that I learned that I was really into. You kind of like pick up these little licks and techniques and stuff through different like iconic bass lines and stuff, and then you kind of like make them your own. You like make each lick your own.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it's like, that's, at least in terms of like my journey, that's been part of it. Another part of it has been like, maybe offhandedly like hearing a really sparse or simple like Miles solo and just be like, I'm just going to try to copy those phrasings or something like that, just to like kind of get that down to see like how he's exactly phrasing that. When you were in your jazz phase, did you get like really into walking lines and stuff like that?
Yeah, I got like really into walking lines. I mean, because that just teaches you so much about chord structure.
Right.
And just like,
and like how to move from chord to chord.
Yeah, just like all that, like just little passing tones.
Right.
And like scales. I know it's like so boring, but like, learning all the scales and stuff. That helps you also write your own bass lines when there's like a chord or something and the scale that goes with it. Just that's like nerdy shit, but that helps a lot. Yeah, and then the jazz, like even with the Miles stuff, like I would have these like jazz mentors that would be, that would tell me to like transcribe solos from other instrumentation, like saxophone solos or trumpet solos or something, and then like using those licks too. So that like goes to what you were saying.
Like in my days of being more jazz curious but really not knowing where to start, I would like, pre-college like have books and still have no fucking idea like what to do or what to play or what, like, because it just like didn't really translate for me until I took an elective jazz like band course in college, which was like super basic, but the teacher just like, beat the fucking concept of walking bass lines into me and just like wouldn't give up on me. And I remember sort of like in some of those first moments how hilariously patronizing he was. Like I think like one of the first things that I did to him, I was like, and and then he's like, yeah, that's nice, that's really good that you did that. And
it's like the like blues, like the like, and everyone's like, cool. Like,
right. Exactly. He was like, yeah, that's kind of nice that you did that, but let's do it this way instead. Like, I just felt like a fucking moron in that moment. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Just like totally embarrassed myself. But yeah, I'm honestly like in a lot of ways I'm sort of jealous, not only of like your generation, but a lot of people are like getting into instrumentation now, because it's like, the amount of stuff that I just see sort of like flying by me at any given moment on Instagram or TikTok in terms of like musicianship stuff, like I would have had to scour numerous places for months and months and months just to like learn. I remember like one of the biggest like head explode things for me was when I finally got like access to this stupid fucking little jazz bass conversation tutorial DVD that was hosted by Jaco Pastorius. Which you could probably find it on YouTube now, but back in the day I had to buy it on DVD. I had to order it on DVD on the internet and wait a few weeks for it to get to me to actually watch it. And then after that I'm sort of like, trying to like take in everything that's happening throughout the whole thing and like, copy and like, try to listen as close as possible. And it was just again, the stuff that I see now on flying all over the place on TikTok is great, and you sort of like in your own way made kind of a name for yourself as well, not just as a bassist and as a singer and a songwriter, but somebody who's like kind of showing their chops on places like TikTok as well, and sort of showing people how to kind of work through lines and stuff.
Yeah, totally. I think TikTok is really interesting just because it's like 30 seconds or a minute or whatever, 3 minutes. And I think like when I like started posting the videos, everyone knows how it works, with the engagement, the For You page. It's like you got to just like show everything in the first like 10 seconds.
Right.
So I would just kind of like try to put everything in to like each video, because you never know who's going to see it. And then like, if they don't see something interesting in the first like 2 seconds, they're going to scroll past. But I think it's funny because, in like real songs or something, if I was like playing with an artist or something, like I would never go crazy like that on stage. You would like really want to like serve the music. So it's fun to kind of experiment with what you would do if you were like able to go crazy on a song.
Right.
But then I realized once I was like going crazy on the TikTok videos and everyone was like, this is sick. I was like, okay, I'm going to go like even crazier on my real music, on my actual music. I'm going to go like, I'm going to put slap, I'm going to put like everything on this, and like just go crazy on these bass lines because people like it in these 15-second clips. So like, they'll probably like listening to it on Spotify too.
No, I mean,
So
you
that
know, I think that makes sense. In a TikTok or whatever, you're in a solo position, so take, you know, a solo role. But the thing is, like, you know, when you're making a song, you've got to find balance, and that's okay. You know, I think people are totally accepting of, like, you know, different contexts and everything.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, that was like interesting just to like figure out how to show your like passion in different contexts to people. It was kind of like that's really fun. I don't enjoy doing it.
So tell me a little bit more about like the Fender Jazz that you have. So it's a 4-string. Have you always been sort of more preferential to 4 as opposed to 5?
Yeah, I just never really got. I have a 5-string like ESP bass, and I just never really got into it. Maybe because I don't know. I just like I don't know. I just never. I was just like 4 strings are enough for me. Like I still want to like master these 4 before I add on.
You're just not attracted to the 5 extra notes.
Yeah, I'm just not really like. Yeah, I'm just not really like that into it unless I was playing a song or like a style that really needed that. I don't know. Maybe I will get into it. But yeah, so I just never. So this is a 4-string. I always play 4 strings. This is like this custom one that I got, and it's like a lightweight body because I have so many back problems from the thing and like touring and stuff. And like the last tour I did, I was using this bass, which is like the bass that everyone sees me play. It's like the turquoise jazz bass, and I love it, but it's just so heavy. So I got this like lighter weight one made with this special wood, and then like the neck is a 66 jazz bass neck, which is like my favorite shape. And then I had an active pickup in it, and then I ended up taking it out because it was just like it was a little bit too noisy. So they just took it out for me. So now I'm like trying it out just passive. But yeah. And then obviously like the aesthetic of it, the look of it is like freaking sick.
Yeah, when you first mentioned the bass to me, I think when I originally reached out for the interview, you were telling me it was active.
Yeah,
you were telling me it was active. I've never been like attracted to that sound or even the need for that, honestly, especially on like a jazz bass, because like if you have a good amplifier, you have such good tone control, especially on a Fender, like between the knobs and everything. I mean, do you like to turn down the first and the third and get a little bit more of like a
yeah. Oh yeah.
like a little bit more of a Jocko-y kind of tone out of it?
Yeah, I did. And I think like when they sent, so this was like this turquoise one was like the first bass that Fender sent me when I started, you know, working with them and talking to them. And I think it was just like, that was really special. I was like, oh, this is the first bass like I've ever like gotten sent to me as a gift. You know what I mean? Like, it's like kind of like special. And I was like,
yeah, no, that's definitely, it's
and I was like, oh my God, I was like, Mom, like they sent me something, like, whoa, like they must think I'm good. Like, you know, it was like a big moment.
You got hooked up.
Yeah, I got hooked up, which is like the first time is like, you feel really good.
And plus it's like, as far as bass goes, it's a legendary company. Like you can't not feel flattered about that.
Like, bucket list for me to like be working with them. And I was like just in their campaign for like the newest bass. We shot the whole campaign video for that. And that was like the sickest thing ever. And now I'm like working on something else really cool with them, but I don't think I can like say right now. So like I can't really say.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, no pressure or anything.
Yeah, but anyways, so this was like the first bass they sent me. So I was like, this is fire. It's like the first gifted bass. Like, this is my one right now. And then I just like played it for so long and I just really liked, and this is active. And I just like really got into the active sound, I guess. And then I think like every bass after that, I was like, it needs to be active because that's like what I'm used to. And I liked it for live, like turning on the preamp for live, or make it like a little punchier and stuff. And then, so yeah, then I like asked for it for this one, and then I don't know, it wasn't feeling right, so I took it out. So I don't know. Now I'm like experimenting different stuff, but this is passive and this sounds good.
No, it does sound really good. Anything like super special with the the pickups or era of pickups or anything like that?
So these are like 60s.
60s.
Yeah, hand wound.
Okay, cool. I mean, I haven't done enough like Pepsi challenges or whatever, but like, you know, there's some people like, oh, these are 60s pick, oh, these are 70s, and it's like I don't.
Yeah, I mean, they're like different. Yeah, you can get like nerdy with it.
Right?
I don't know.
You definitely can.
You can definitely get nerdy with it. I feel like I have to do like more research. Even like I'm not even that like knowledgeable.
Like no, I mean, yeah, there's.
I have to like I want to just go to like sick vintage guitar store one day and just like play everything and like take notes.
No, there's like there's levels of nerdiness that I feel like is necessary, or like definitely helpful. Then there's levels of it where people are just like, yeah, man, like the finish or the color of the neckboard wood definitely affects the sound. And it's like, no, fucker, it like doesn't. Like, doesn't matter if it's it doesn't matter if it's like a beige finish or it's like sort of like a rosewood or whatever. It's gonna.
I know. I also think it's like, I'm always like, it's on the fingers, yo. Like it's just
right.
it's just a player. Like
right,
it's even
exactly.
when I, like try to like if I'm like in the studio or something, or like I hate when people put like sidechain on my bass. I hate it. I mean, a little bit is fine, and like compression, I'm like, guys, it's in the fingers. Like I can do it myself. Like take that shit off.
Right.
And they're like, what?
Right. The thing is, like, if you're an expressive player, you can even make like a P bass sing. You know what I mean? And like, just for reference for everybody, like, a Fender P bass is pretty much like the most straightforward, flattest, like most direct and most meat and potatoes like bass sound you can get. Maybe like songs all have like P bass, maybe if you're an average player, it may not, and you're hearing an average player, it may not sound amazing to you, but kind of the magic of the P bass for me always comes to life when you're playing it on a recording, because in a lot of cases, like, you don't really need to do too much to it for it to like pop out and stick out and sound good. That's kind of where it ends up making the most sense. Whereas like, again, with like a jazz bass, you can get a little bit more detailed in terms of like how you want it to sound exactly. I'll say personally, like, it did take me a little while to kind of get into Fenders, because I remember as a kid, just sort of like the look of them, I always thought was maybe just sort of like old or kind of square, because as a teenager, I was just like really into metal. And slapping as well, but like I was listening to Korn, or I was listening to like Primus and stuff like that, So it's like I wanted to play, like, a lot of the guitars I would play or the basses I would play were Ibanez's, just because they had like a higher frequency range, and when you'd slap them, they sound crunchier. But then as I got older, just getting more curious about other, bass brands and everything, and, trying out more Fenders, I was like, wow, this, like, like the Ibanez's have been good, but this sounds like all of my favorite music, like from when I grew up, like this, because it's obviously those are the basses that I was hearing on Rush records and Pink Floyd records and Rage Against the Machine records and everything. So I was like, oh shit, I want that. Fuck all this other stuff. I don't have anything to do with anything else over here.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's the vibe. I really want to get now I really want to get like a Music Man, like 70s Music Man that like Bernard Edwards played, to get that sound for records. But they're so hard to find. I was like really close to getting one, and I was like talking to this guy on eBay, and then he sold it to someone else, and I was like so upset about it. And then he like called me back 2 days later, and he's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, the people who I sold it to like know about your playing, and they were like, I can't believe you didn't sell it. Like, it was like really bizarre. I was like, yeah.
That's also got to be flattering. You have bass cred.
I know, I have like bass cred. It's crazy. It's really sick.
Have you gotten like, I'm sorry for my ignorance. Have you gotten like features in Bass Player and stuff like that? And
yeah, I did. I was on the cover of Bass Player.
Of course. Yeah,
which was like sick. That was really cool. What else? I mean, like Questlove like posted one of my videos, which is like it was like just as credity as any like bass player. I think like Fire, because Questlove is the ultimate fucking groove king.
Right.
So that was like a really big deal. Yeah.
What about other sort of like online bass person? Are you a fan of Scotty Devine? You know Scotty Devine on YouTube?
Yeah, I know Scott. Yeah, is that Scott's Bass Lessons?
Yeah, Scott's Bass Lessons.
I love it. No, I love Scott's. Okay,
he does good interviews.
He does. I know. Actually, I wanna meet him.
Right. He's a legend.
Dude, he's a legend. I've learned. So the song "Hair" I was talking about by Lairgram, like I fully learned that from his video. I would like slow down his video on YouTube, and then I remember I messaged him after I learned it, and I like literally, this is so nerdy of me. I literally so like bass, like classic like bass nerd. I like messaged him after, and I was like, hey man, like I really like, I learned a lot from your hair video. Like, here's a video of me playing it. I think I sent a video of me playing it to him, and he was like, good job, like sounds great. And I was like 16 or 17, so awkward. But then he like reposted my video. I did a few videos with Chromeo, because I've been like,
cool.
yeah, I've been like working on some songs with them, which has been so sick. So I'm such a big fan of them.
Nice.
And we posted some videos to Instagram of us playing, and he like reposted one of them, and I was like, this is sick. I was like, this is a legend right here.
So, you know, considering how well you've done for yourself in terms of like, you know, being a talented bassist and writer and someone who's also kind of put themselves to the forefront, considering how, you know, one of the reasons I got into bass at first is because like there were so many like bands and players around my school and everything, but nobody played the bass. So I was like, well, if I learn this, maybe I'll be like, you know, everybody needs a bass player, but yet nobody's doing it. So, you know, as a result of that, do you often find yourself getting like these offers, like with Chromeo, like thrown at you where it's like, well, we need a bass line, you know, everybody needs a bass line somewhere. And it's like, oh, well, you know, we know Blu's a great bassist. Do you see a lot of those opportunities getting thrown your way because of how, you know, I guess essentially your instrument is to, you know, sort of like any kind of groove oriented pop music project?
Yeah, totally. And I think also when I was younger, because I'm like born and raised in New York, and I went to NYU for a year and a half, and then I dropped out for touring. I left for touring. But I remember like when I was at NYU, and even when I was in high school, I had all the college kids hitting me up when I was in high school, like all the, you know, music school college kids were hitting me up to play for their bands. You know, we'd play like pianos. I don't know if you know, like New York. Wait, where are you from, by the way?
I'm in Connecticut.
Oh, sick. Okay. But so I don't know if you know like New York venues, but like pianos and Arlene's Grocery and like all of those small like, places in New York, I would probably play like 3 times a week with different people, and they would always be way older than me because there's just no bass players in town.
Right.
So I did that. So I was like hit up a lot in that way when I was really young, and then yeah, I would like playing a lot of people's stuff. And then I think when I started like putting out my own music, people were kind of like, okay, she's like doing her artist projects, and maybe they were kind of like, I would have to say no to a lot of things, you know, because I was just like, I'm just like doing my own thing now. But yeah, I mean, I think that's like what's so cool about the bass too. Yeah, it's like it's so unique, and it's like hard. I think it's like it's hard to be like a really good bass player, but it's easy to like be okay. I don't know if that makes sense, because some people are like, the bass is so easy, you know, but like it's hard to be like a really good one. I don't know if that's like weird.
No. I think that makes sense to say. Look, it can be, you can play the bass on easy mode. You can play the bass if you just want to be an easy mode bass player. You could do that, and if you do that, you can still get gigs, because again, if you're solid and you learn the song, and I don't know what you're playing, the root notes or whatever.
Yeah, if you're just playing some like eighth note or whatever.
Exactly, stuff like that. Like that's still needed, it's still necessary. It's someone's still got to do it. So you know you could play easy mode if you want, but the thing is, if you want to level it up, that's an option too. And you know, as you're kind of saying here, you have to find sort of like balance between working on your own solo stuff and being like, well, I kind of want to network with this person or work with this person or get my name on that record.
Yeah, totally. I think that was like a big, the past like through the pandemic is when I was really like, okay, because I had a song out before I had 2 songs out, or a few songs out before the pandemic. I was still kind of like touring with other people. And then when I started getting like a big, you know, following on TikTok and stuff for my bass videos, and then I put out a song and that went viral on TikTok as well. Some people didn't even know it was me, because you know there's like so many viral TikTok songs and people don't even know like who sings it or whatever. So it was kind of like at the same time I had like this bass audience, and then like my song was going viral, and then it slowly kind of just like converged, like the perfect volcano of like whatever. So that was really sick, and I was like, okay, I'm doing my artist thing, and I'm gonna like make the bass pop in and put the bass all over this. So yeah.
What is your, I know you have a lot of different basses that aren't here and everything, and you know you probably have one of these, but I wanted to know you know, personally, your opinion on fretless something that attracts you at all? Are you into fretless?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're really cool for if you want that specific sound. And I was into, I mean, they're harder to play for sure. Right. And I like got into upright when I was into jazz. I kind of got into upright for a second, and then it was just like so physical. And you can't even, like in New York especially, you can't even take that. You can't even take it in a car. You have to take it on the subway. Right. And I'm not gonna do this. Right. So I just didn't really get into it, but I really like the sound. I would probably play like an upright versus a fretless if I wanted that sort of
Really, you'd go upright first.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I think that's like more classic, but I think fretless basses are cool too. I just like haven't experimented enough.
I mean, I myself, I have a fretless P. I love it. I really, really love it. Like, especially when I really fell in love with it is, and I don't know if this is something that, you know, you would try or be curious about, is when I put flats on it, put flat wounds on it.
Yeah, that's sick.
Which, you know, for you know, anybody sort of watching right now, we have wounds on both of our basses, which, you know, gives you a very brighter tone and sound.
Yeah.
And sounds especially good slapping. But, you know, flat wounds give you more of like a muted tone, and with the fretless, with the flat wounds, and also like putting, and yeah, a lot of people do this, I'm sure you've done this, put like a piece of foam at the very bottom, like, you know, at to kind of mute the strings and everything. It sounds just like an upright through the amplifier.
Yeah, totally. And low-key, these, like, I don't know if you've ever played a ukulele bass.
No. Actually, I did a video dissing the ukulele bass, but go on.
That's so funny. Okay, well, I'm not like a ukulele bass stan.
I know. I'm just joking.
That's so funny. I have one because I was like, this is so fun. Like, this is funny. I was like, this is like hilarious.
It is funny.
Ukulele, like what? So I have one, and it has like rubber strings on it or something.
Right.
And through an amp, it actually kind of sounds like an upright, and it's like pretty sick.
Yeah.
But I could see how you would like. I would never like bring it out. I would never bring it around. I would never bring a ukulele bass to like a session. I think it's like embarrassing.
Maybe one day just try it. You know, just
I'm
see.
gonna bring it to the Chromeo studio, and they're gonna see what they say.
No, we did this video once where we challenged everyone to tell me what their opinion was on like what they thought the worst instrument was, and you know, there's a lot of, you know, instruments out there that maybe people have like a bad impression of, but like, you know, I gave pretty like solid defenses of. But when the ukulele bass came up, I was like, I have no defense of the ukulele bass. I think it's almost like useless. There's already like acoustic basses that are way more versatile than the ukulele. I just didn't see the point in it.
True. I have a ukulele bass too. I mean, an acoustic bass too, like a acoustic, and I like it. I think it's fun. But that's so fun. What were the other instruments that people were like that? People
stuff like the tin whistle and the hurdy-gurdy and you know, just it was mostly instruments that the sound of them people generally find annoying. You know, stuff like accordion, stuff like that. You know,
classic.
But you know, the ukulele bass isn't really so much a sound thing as much as it's like, you know, it's kind of like the equivalent of like a, you know, a whap whap whap. It's like the whap 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 of like, you know, instruments a little bit.
Totally. So fun.
But still fun. Again, not a diss. No.
I'm like dying. I think that's funny. So you gotta make fun of everything, like a little. We were talking about that.
Right. Well, we were talking about how bass is funny earlier, and even funnier is just ukulele bass.
Yeah, totally.
No, most definitely. So, you know, I guess like from here, what are your bass aspirations like currently? I mean, you know, you seem to be on like a really good track right now in terms of like being able to balance not only, you know, short form videos where you're kind of showing off your musicianship and kind of working, you know, lines and kind of showcasing that, you know, obviously writing and producing, and then also collaborating on top of that. You know, it's like you're kind of balancing all these things, you're spinning all these plates. Like, do you see yourself taking on other projects as a result of this into the future, putting more irons into the fire, or just like continuing to strengthen these things that you're already doing well?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of want to do everything. I think what I'm doing right now, I'm like my whole kind of year is planned, which feels really good to say. Because I kind of love that. Like, I'm doing like a bunch of festivals, and that's kind of, you know, I'm doing a lot of like first things this year. Like first Bonnaroo, first Gutball, just like a bunch of these major festivals this year, which I'm like really, really excited about. Probably putting out an album by the end of this year, like my first album, which is gonna be really cool.
Right.
Yeah, like I signed my like record deal last year, so I'm like doing, you know, in this whole like new wave right now. Yeah, like working with Fender. I guess I can just like tease it, but I'm like starting to work with Fender on my own line, my own signature. I don't even know. I hope I don't like get in trouble for that. But whatever.
They're working with a lot of different artists. You know, I don't think it's too much of a surprise.
I don't think people are like surprised about it. But yeah, that's like a big bucket list thing for me, like my own signature. So I'm doing that this year. Some other like entrepreneurial stuff that I'm excited about. Yeah, like collaborations. I'm doing, did a bunch of songs with Chromia. We're playing at Red Rocks. It's gonna be sick. Yeah, just like a bunch of. I think that's just what I'm gonna keep going with. And then like, I want to do everything. Eventually, want to like write a book and like teach and like do all that stuff and be like a mentor for younger girls who are playing and just inspire people to pick up the instrument. But yeah, it's hard to balance like the social media aspect with writing and recording. So that's kind of what I'm like working on right now. But it seems to be going. It's okay. It's been going okay.
Where are you currently? Because we're always forever students. Where do you feel like you're right now with your practice? It's like what do you feel like in terms of either technique or understanding of music theory, the fretboard? Like what do you feel like you're still currently either pushing yourself to learn, or every once in a while there's that thing nagging at you in your head like, I haven't taken the time to learn that, or I really want to know how to do that, but I haven't captured it yet? Yeah,
totally. I think just strengthening already what I've been learning, like slap bass. Like I'm far from mastering the bass in general, so I definitely want to get closer to. I don't think you could fully like master anything, but getting closer to mastering by the end of my lifetime. But I think like it's like slap bass and stuff, and making sure like my groove could be the best it can be, and getting into different styles of music. Like I haven't gotten into like metal or anything like that, and there's some really cool bass lines and techniques in different genres that I haven't really gotten into. I could get like way better at jazz too. There's a bunch of stuff, you're always like, everyone's always learning. And and not even in terms of the bass, but like better at production, better at songwriting. Like there's always, those things you can only get better by doing it. But I think with the bass, like I, was like practicing hours and hours and hours every day when I was getting really into the instrument. And then, obviously when you go on to other things, there has to be a time where you, that practice regimen isn't as much there for me at the moment because I'm just so busy making music. But I would love to I have to like get back into that routine, because if I practice like every day for like an hour, the difference goes crazy. So it's a good reminder. Thanks for asking me that, to get back. I have to get back. Do you practice?
I do practice.
Hey, so what's your practice routine?
I try to practice every day. I'm mostly, I wouldn't even say it's, I'm lying. I would say I pick up the bass every day, but it's more fiddling around than it is practicing. It's like every once in a while, it's like I'm still like kind of get down good jazz phrasings and just like, good ways of kind of like going down scales and stuff, as opposed to, just like kind of just like good descending notes and good approach notes and stuff like that, instead of just like, playing plainly through scales and that sort of thing. Just like finding ways to melodically be more expressive. I work on that. I try to work on my timing, because like, sometimes like the simplest bass lines can be the hardest to play because of the space between the notes. And it's like the focus really needs to be on just like, or just like,
that stuff is like,
it's just like essential to do that, because it's like, if you're fucking up those notes, like, there'll probably be some people who are interested in it, but like, if you're fucking those notes up, you shouldn't be doing it. Like
your timing has to be there. And I always, I'd say like someone who has the best like groove and time is, better than anyone that can fucking shred or whatever. So, and I think that's really important.
What was it? There was a bass line at the top of my head that I was thinking of that I have a.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good times. It's like probably like my favorite bass line of all time. Okay.
Yeah, it's like getting the timing down on that is tough. Is tough. Just like, it's like, it's not a really difficult line to play in terms of like the fingering, but just like the timing between all of those notes, because it's so freaking rhythmic.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
right.
it. That's it.
I love those mutes you're doing too. That's good.
Yeah.
What's your So I'm like practicing, just like making sure my timing's always good. And then on top of that, like whenever I see like, I always like hate doing it and feeling it physically, but whenever I see a good slap video, I'm like, oh, I should do that. I should.
I mean, me too, yeah. I mean,
you know.
Yeah, but that's like that stuff kind of gets fun to practice because it's like it's almost like what's the right word? Like you kind of get like lost in it. Like if I like start to practice slap bass, I'll just like put a metronome on and just go like for just like an hour, or not an hour. That's really long, but for a while, yeah, like it's like kind of nice.
I get a hard time working. I get a hard time working through it because I get impatient in my head. Because like, you know, it's like I find myself in a place where I'm just always stuck with like a basic, you know, like super basic, like, you know, pop and slap patterns. And, you know, the thing is like, I want to learn more complex patterns, but as I'm learning them, I'm like, I want to fucking start playing some notes. And it's like, and then
I'll be patient. Yeah.
So it's like, as I'm sitting there and just like,
yeah. You got
like,
it.
Yeah, but the thing is like I want to stop playing that, or I want to stop throwing things into it or getting it more complex because I just want to play notes. So.
I mean, what I sometimes do is like I'll create like a bass line. If there's like a rhythm that I want to like practice, I'll like create a bass line that goes with the rhythm with different notes, so it's more melodic, so you can have like more fun with it. Right. Or I'll be like, okay, every 4 bars I'm allowed to add in like a different fill, and then it becomes way more fun. Yeah.
What is God? What is your, you know, just to sort of throw a controversial question in here toward the end? What is your philosophy or feeling on playing with a pick?
Okay, dude, low key, I don't like picks. I'm just gonna say it. And people who know me, I mean, I don't not like them. I get the appeal and I understand the sound. Personally, I just don't play with it. And this actually came up. This is a little side story on so I just did SNL the other week with Bleachers with Jack Antonoff's.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, first of all, like such a cool experience. Like the most awesome thing ever, and it's awesome that really nice that he asked me to do it. Didn't you guys do a stream like kind of recent?
We did a stream last year at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. But so nice that he asked me to do it, and it was like one of these situations where, you know, it's his project. Obviously, I'm coming in. I'm filling in for the bass player because of COVID and stuff. And he was like, "Oh yeah, like bass player like usually plays this bass with a pick. Like, can you do that?" And I was like, "No."
Oh no.
I was like, well, I didn't say no. I was just like, "Oh, let me like try it my way, and like we'll see what sounds better at the dress rehearsal." I was like, "Trust me, Jack. Like, trust me. Like, it's gonna sound good. Like, I promise." And then, because I didn't want to like feel, you know, because if I'm like not really used to playing with the pick, I didn't want to like feel uncomfortable. And then I did it. He was like, "You're right. It sounds way better." So.
No, I mean, like.
It's whatever you're more. If you can get that sound with your fingers, which I feel like I can sometimes get, then like, who cares what you're using?
You know? I'll say like I did sort of skip over the fact that I did have a punk phase as well, where I was getting like really into Dead Kennedy's bass lines. Who, you know, Klaus is like legit a great bass player. Like actually one of my favorite bass players because
I get into that. I never got into that stuff.
Like he's like out of like all the punk bands out of California, they easily had some of the best musicianship. Like, you know, the lead guitarist East Bay Ray was a surf guitarist before, you know, they were doing punk songs together. So it's like you hear a lot of weird, like very you know, surfy, very like virtuoso type solos and stuff. And, you know, the bass player in that band had a lot of jazz influence as well. And on some songs, like Riot, for example, would like play these crazy lines where it's just like full chords and he's just like strumming them like as fast as possible. And they still come out like really clean. And, you know, I just loved like his style of pick bass, and I was never like really all that into it before because like I felt like, you know, it's more pure to play with your fingers and everything. But like, you know, when I heard that, I was like sold on it. And then, you know, after a while I got I kind of fell out of favor with it. And what got me into it again recently is watching some performances and watching some talks from that. Have you seen this guy, Bobby Vega? Have you seen Bobby Vega?
No.
Oh my fucking God. Like you've never heard anybody play a pick like the way this guy plays a pick. It is the funkiest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. It is absolutely. He actually has some videos with Scott. If you look it up,
I'm gonna look those up.
And there's some videos, and he's playing in front of Scott, and he's blowing Scott's fucking mind. And Scott's like, "Wait, stop. And he's doing these crazy rhythmic licks where he's like kind of muting the strings, but running the pick across like all 4 strings and coming back, like going down 4, up 3, and hitting the E, and and also like, you know, hitting it with the pick, but then using his palm over here to like mute the strings. So he's getting kind of like a fat kind of muted tone out of the pick and everything. And he's playing, and he's just like,
I respect that. Now I'm like, okay, now I'm like, I should probably learn to play with pick because that's fire.
Like I'm telling you, like he's been easily one of the most mind blowing things that I've seen in terms of like a bassist, and he's been around for years. You know, that I've sort of watched in a long time. If I could wake up tomorrow and do anything, it's like play a pick like Bobby Vega.
Damn. Okay, I got it. See, now I got to get. That's good. Now I got to get into that.
Yeah,
because I always like. I think I was just like. I just like never did it. So I would just like go around being like, I'm purist. Like fingers only.
Fingers
like,
only.
Fuck picks. And now I'm like, that's like mad childish. I should just go for it. Because it is sometimes like I'll be in a session where I'm like kind of like want that sound, but I'm too like proud to just be like, I'll just, you know.
Right.
But sometimes I'll do like the Bernard Edwards, which is like which is just like with your like finger or whatever.
Right. But that's Victor, good too.
That's like, this is something I have to like practice and get good at, but he'll do like the double thumping thing.
Yeah.
You know, like literally I can't even do it because my nails are like 3D. I have like 3D nail polish on. So I can't even do it. But he'll do like, it's kind of like a pick sound with like, he'll like thump up and down with his thumb. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like a sick sound. And there's a ton of, I mean, I got super, did you ever get into Victor Wooten?
A little bit. Like
he's crazy. And then I went through a phase where I was like, okay, I'm gonna like just not play any like that many notes, because I got really into Victor Wooten and was like trying to do all this crazy stuff. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna like do the opposite approach and just get into like the 4-note bass lines and just like get really into that. Mm-hmm. But I did this like bass camp. I was like so nerdy. I'm still so nerdy, but I did this like Berkeley bass camp with Victor Wooten. It was like a week long, and it was just all bass players, and it was Victor and Steve Bailey, who's like the head of the Berkeley bass department. And they had like a concert, I remember, and it was Victor and Steve and 2 drummers, and they played for like an hour, like the craziest stuff. Wow. And everyone is there. Everyone is just like bass nerds, and everyone's sitting there like freaking out. So never forget. But he was doing some crazy stuff, and then he'll throw it around his like shoulder.
Yeah.
It's like it's like mad acrobatic. Like, how are you doing this? What?
Yeah. No, I've seen videos of him doing that. At the time that I was slightly into him, I was more attracted to Les and Les's stuff. And what's funny is like when I was playing in his lines or playing his stuff the most, the stuff that like really attracted me most was sort of the slapping, but also I just loved like the way that he would find like strumming patterns with his hands and like, you know, just the, you know, stuff like that. And
it's crazy. Yeah.
Like stuff like that, you know. I just like really got attracted to that, and just like, you know, working in just to normal lines that I would play just like a quick, you know, stuff like that, just like do a quick like DNA strum or get like a, you know, just something going like that in a line. That, you know, that always hit me as like, you know, a really sharp kind of like addition to anything.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah, he has some really cool techniques. I want to like create my own technique. I gotta like do my own thing where everyone's like, oh yeah, that's like blues thing. I learned
that's the Blu DeTiger.
Yeah, that's the Blu DeTiger. I have to figure out. I do this. I mean, a lot of people do this, but I do this like, you know, like the like slide. I don't even know what it's called.
Like that's an aggressive slide. That's an aggressive 2.
I do it crazy. Oh my god! If you ever come see me play, which you should totally come check it out. The next time I play near you, but like my whole. Like my show is, I mean, it's, you know, I play my songs whenever I sing my songs. And then a lot of the songs have like long breakdowns where I just solo and I go off. And a lot of it is like I do this, like and sometimes people are like, yo, you gotta like chill with the sliding.
Now imagine how those slides would go if you were on a fretless. It wouldn't even just be like a 2-fret slide. It'd be like a 5-fret slide.
No, I like wouldn't find my way back. I would get lost. But like a lot of people, I don't know, I like that. It makes like sing. So I don't know, maybe that's like my thing, but I feel like a lot of people do that. So I don't know.
No, I mean, I think if you keep working at it, and considering bass is like such an underappreciated instrument, I think there's like room for exploration in a lot of different contexts. I mean, I remember like one of my, and this will, I'll leave you off on this because I appreciate your time and you coming through and everything. But one of my favorite bands relating to bass, I remember I was into like a bunch of weird experimental music duos when I was a kid, like Ruins, which is like this Japanese noise rock band where it's just drums and bass. It's just a drummer and a bass player, or like Lightning Bolt. Have you ever gotten into Lightning Bolt? Insane band out of Rhode Island. It's just a drummer and a bass guitarist. But like from what I hear, like the guy would put like banjo strings on the bass and shit, and just like all sorts of pedals and everything. It's like absolutely insane.
Yeah, I gotta get crazier with it.
Right.
I'm like, what am I doing this whole time?
Experiment. Go crazy.
I gotta go crazy. Well, at least I got the crazy like mirror thing going. That's like something. Right. I'm still like shook by this. I can just like see. I'm gonna be like playing a show, and people are gonna be like taking selfies like through the mirror.
Right, exactly. There's gonna be like a lot of flashing back.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of shining. That's like I'm hyped. I'm hyped to see how that happens. How that works out.
So as of right now, before you go, like what are we looking at in terms of like the record dropping and everything, or like the progress of the album and all that?
Yeah, totally. So I have another single coming out in a few weeks. It's called Hot Crush Lover. I'll just say it here.
Okay.
And that's coming out in a few weeks. That I'm really excited about that. And then some more singles and collaborations. Really excited collaborations. And then by the end of the year, definitely full album. I'm like writing mode right now.
Okay.
Towards the end of the writing mode. So been working hard at it, but it's really fun. It's I'm really excited about it. It's been good.
Well, thank you for coming through and spending time with us and talking with me about bass and giving the bass a bigger, brighter, bassier platform.
Yeah, everyone should. I hope like some people play bass after this stream. That'd be sick. Some people
I hope so too.
Yeah, that's the goal, inspire.
It is the goal. Like convert it, because
convert, inspire, and educate.
Musically, it does feel like a little bit like a cult, Yeah,
but I think like during the pandemic, especially, there's so many. I mean, at least a lot of people reach out to me and were like, I bought a bass over the pandemic, so it's growing. The community is growing and it's strong and it's fire. And I'm gonna hold a bass. Maybe I'll do like a bass meetup where everyone will come and bass jam.
That could be good.
I'll be like, you take the chords, you take the melody, and I'll like conduct. That'd be kind of sick.
I saw Thundercat play live once at this festival. I can't remember which one it was, but like it was an amazing performance because like he was barely playing any of his songs. It was literally just a jazz fusion jam with four other guys.
I saw him play the other like a few months ago, and it was kind of similar. And
one of the other people that he had there was just another bassist. So you had him lead bass, and then you had second chair bass on stage with him on stage.
I'm like, yeah, that's like Michelle Degocello, who's like another big inspo to me. She has another bass player on stage with her, and like she'll play, and then she'll do sometimes where she just sings, and then like she passes off to like the second chair bass. Like that's such a power move. Like I want like 3 chair bass, please, 3 chairs for bass.
Yeah, you need 2 other backup bassists just to like allow you to take the reins there.
That'd be really funny. But yeah, thanks so much for having me on. This is so fun. I'm obviously a big fan of yours too. So
yeah, no, it's been great. So yeah, have a good one. Again, we'll look out for the new singles, the new music, and the new record, and keep doing your thing.
Sweet.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right. Peace.